Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Happy 4th of July from New Life Live. Hey, that kind of rhymes. I'm your host, Brian Perez. Happy for being here. Grateful that you're watching and listening. On today's episode, Dr. Jim Burns, the founder of Homeward, and clinical psychologist Dr. Jill Hubbard are going to help you find freedom from whatever it is that's got you in bondage. And Jill, why don't you start? What's on your mind to begin today?
Well, I didn't realize I would be talking on the 4th of July, or I would have done something way more patriotic. But instead, I'm going to talk about living day to day with ADHD.
Okay.
So it has nothing to do with the 4th of July.
That's okay.
Although the stimulation of the 4th is
that's
really
true.
exciting
Yes.
for the ADHD brain, which is also a neurodivergent brain, which is important to know because a lot of times we don't recognize that in a way that is helpful for people. And there's some common comorbidities with ADHD, and that is anxiety, depression, and substance abuse goes along. And it's interesting that there's also a really high percentage, and probably everyone knows this, of people in prison with ADHD and learning disabilities. So there's a lot of feelings that go into having ADHD and how a person feels about themselves and their inability to be, like neurotypical brained people. And so, some of us on this team have also, struggled with these issues and have had the fortune of passing it on to our children. Yeah. So I had a situation that happened this last week with my adult son. I say adult loosely, but he is an adult. He gives me lots of material. In fact, he called me on the way here, and he says, "What are you talking about today?" I said, "You." And he said, "Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll make this point and this point." I'm like, okay, enough. So over the weekend, we had a family party, and it was a lot of work, and he came over to help us. And so he's kind of a little bit like Pigpen, and he leaves a trail, even though he's really trying to help, and he's very dear. And so he gets there and he loses his car keys, which is a typical thing of ADHDers. Okay, so then he finds where I've hidden the spare key, and he's got the spare key. And so at the end of the night, I'm really tired, and he's getting ready to leave, and it's taking him like an hour to leave. Well, he's lost the spare key.
Oh,
and
no.
So he could tell my frustration. Mm-hmm. And he turns to me and he says, "Mom, I want you to think about how you're feeling right now. And remember that people have been frustrated with you as well."
Isn't that stuff you've told him before?
Yeah, but then he adds, but on a milder level, so the kid has insight and self-awareness. I know, but you know what? I had to reflect back and later, and I actually apologized to him. I said, "You're right. It was a perfect scenario where I was being like my mother." Yeah. And I was being, even my heavy sighs, I'm like, expressing that I was irritated at his, lack of finding things. Anyway, I had some examples on how to remedy that, but maybe we'll get to that.
Yes.
After
Can you share one really quick?
Well, one of the things is we have to really be aware that our hands and our brain work separately. And so we have to ask ourselves, what are our hands doing? It's really important to clue in and do a lot of self-talk and to also slow down and think, to ask ourselves what we're anxious about.
Yeah.
And to it's really important not to handle important items when we're preoccupied. That's good. So there has to be more intentionality to take control of our symptoms. Okay? But
very good. We'll try to get to more of those in just a little bit here on New Life Live, but we also have some phone calls that we want to get to, so we will do that. Jeremy, you will be first here on New Life Live.
I went to Every Man's Battle in 2012. My sexual integrity was not what it should have been. I sought out affairs, whether physical or emotional. Until I came to Every Man's Battle, I didn't understand that would never fill that void.
Every day, men struggle with sexual integrity. Impure thoughts, strip clubs, affairs, pornography.
The shame and guilt was overwhelming.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Intensive.
You will discover what the true root of your pain is, and you will discover how to overcome.
You don't have to struggle any longer. Get help in Dallas, Texas, July 18th through the 20th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to register or to find out more. 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Enter the code NLL for a discount.
Every Man's Battle saved my life.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
It's the 4th of July, and it's not just the weather heating up. Our summer closeout sale is on fire. Visit the online store at newlife.com to scoop up some great resources at incredible prices. But hurry, when they're gone, they are gone. newlife.com/store. Here is Sheremy calling in from Richmond, Virginia, listening to us online. Thank you, Sheremy, for calling in today.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So my question is about how to establish, I guess, a balance between having boundaries with family, but also being present for them and making them feel seen and loved.
Okay.
I've been in a season of transition where I've been in a different state for 3 years, and it took me all of 3 years to be present here, if that makes sense. I was up and down the road all the time for the first year and a half, and so I'm just now actually living in the space that I rent to be here and not, on 95, going back home and coming back here. And so I have been trying to be more strategic about, okay, well, how do I make time for family in a way that feels life-giving for them as well as me? And it's been challenging. My mom will kind of call me and say, hey, you don't make time for me. And sometimes when she says it, I think it is true. I think it's a combination of wanting to find the middle ground of two extremes where it's like, it's really healthy boundaries, and then on the other side of it, it's like complete isolation where like I can't talk to them because it's draining. And so I'm trying to find the balance of I'm here for you, and that I still love you and appreciate you, and I am also trying to build community here as well. And so any thoughts on just how do I balance those two extremes of like I love you guys and I'm thinking of you, and I also need to do what I need to do. And I think for me, I've not really had that many examples of the balance. I've just either seen the extreme of we're all enmeshed and I don't know whose thoughts I'm thinking, if it's her thoughts or my thoughts, or it's the opposite of that, where it's like, oh, we're not really talking at all, and we only talk when we need something. So, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what that is, knowing that I've also maybe never experienced it.
Sheremy, I think those are really good questions that you are entertaining and reflecting on. Now, did you move away because of a job, or did you move away to get away?
Combination of both.
Oh, okay. The job was convenient?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. So actually what happened was I was coming on the end of my fumes, running in the end of my fumes, honestly. I'd been home for a while, but in the last 2-3 years I was caregiving as a secondary caregiver to my grandmother who lived with us, and she had dementia. And I was also still working like 40 to 60 hours a week, and I was serving, as I thought, as a way for it to be an outlet, but it became like a job as well. And so all I did was work, and honestly, just work, and actually got to the point where I got shingles at 28 because I was just doing too much. Wow. And so once my grandmother did pass away peacefully at 96, I just felt like the Lord was like, go. He said go, and I went. So I still tried to do my due diligence of making sure, because my mother and I had lived together. So I tried to do my due diligence of making sure she had somewhere safe and convenient for her to work, and my older brothers still live at home or in the area. So I feel like she had, what she needed maybe practically, but that emotional need and maybe like fusion that we had before was, it was being severed while also losing her mom. So I don't want to take away from her experience either, but that was kind of the situation I was leaving. And I felt like I was just kind of becoming a real independent adult at 30. So.
Jim?
Yeah, I actually think you're incredibly articulate, and the questions that you're asking, and again, for a 30-year-old, is amazing, okay? Because literally you're just moving from dependence, within the family to independence, and that's a very healthy thing to do. It's healthy for you. It's actually healthy for them, even if they don't know that it is. And the question that you're asking is a really good question. And the hard part is it's personally tailored for every family, for every person. It doesn't sound like you have this horrible, horrible relationship with them. But when she says, you're not there for me, you got to somehow want to figure out, what does that look like for her? It may be something as simple as a weekly phone call where you go, you know what, I'm going to give my mom an hour of my energy, my emotional energy, my life. I may not get something as much out of it as she is, but, I'm there for her. Boom. And again, if your mom is like super hyper needy and you're living in a different place, and that that doesn't work. But sometimes when you have figured that out, like our family, we have a Christmas party, and I come from a dysfunctional family. My family's awesome, but when you expand it, it can get a little crazy. And so we do 3 hours, and we know that in 3 hours we're going to have a great time. There is not tension. There's not whatever. And then, frankly, we're kind of like, okay, we love you guys. It's great to see you, again, boom, and we're gone. So that's finding out what the boundaries that work for you and the boundaries that work for them. It's never going to be perfect because your mom probably wants you to live in, the way you sound, if you were my daughter, I want you to live in next door. But again, because you've made that choice, find out what is kind of the least that she would want from you. And it may be, honestly, that, once a week conversation, or it may be then you go, you know what, I'm going to every 2 months, I'm going to show, it sounds like you'd have to do a drive, but not like, crazy. For every two, like my daughter last night, I hope this isn't her, she's not going, I need boundaries with my parents, but she came last night, we had dinner last night, she has 2 kids, we put the kids to bed, we had a great time, we talked, and then as I was leaving, we had breakfast together, and then as I was leaving to come to do this program, she was leaving to go back to where she lives. She lives only about 2 hours away. But she was going back. So she made and I just said to her, I gave her a hug and I said, Heidi, thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it so much. She goes, Dad, I love it. Okay. So all that, we had this mush. We didn't have any tension. It was all great. But she had, now she's got a 2-hour drive, right? Going someplace. But what I'm saying is that met my relation, that filled my tank, and it probably filled her tank for a while. Okay, see what I'm saying? So, find what works for you particularly and for your mom. And sometimes you can kind of combine those and it semi-works.
Right, and I think deciding what you want to give helps. But at the same time, realize that it sounds like there is kind of dependence going in both directions, perhaps, in the family. And it's always hard for moms. We all want our kids close by.
Absolutely. And
we don't want them to leave because usually our kids are our most favorite people. So if you're waiting for your mom to kind of give you permission to separate, she's not going to. And you have to allow your mom to be disappointed. It is not your job to cure her disappointment. And so when your mom says, oh, you never call me, it's kind of a guilty way to say it. And I might even reframe it for her. So, Mom, are you saying that you're missing me right now? And find out what is really going, like she's missing you. She's feeling, are you feeling disconnected from me? Like try to name some things and get her to go more towards what she's feeling and what she's wanting. Yeah, I'm really missing you right now. Or I just feel like I'm not as important to you anymore. And then you can meet that need and it takes some of the burden off of you. But when it says, oh, you never call me, it's like, oh, okay, I got to do more. I got to do better. And that's that whole like caregiver, like I can never do enough that you want to run from. So if you reframe it, it may help alleviate the need to run. And then it's like, oh, okay, I want to give the hour or
really
the 12 hours, to spend with them. And then, and then I'll give what I want to give. And if they're disappointed that it isn't more, well then, Mom, I'm sorry you're disappointed. This is what I could do today. And I had a really good time with you. I'll see you next time.
What do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, no, this is great. I was just writing it down. So no, I think that sounds like a good option for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but part of that being an adult is stopping looking for their approval of all of your choices. Okay? Yeah. And giving yourself the approval. You know that you need to do this for yourself. And Mom, I'm sorry if that hurts you. This isn't a lack of love for you. This is me needing to grow as a person. And I hope you can understand and accept that.
We have a term that a lot of people use called individuation. What that means is that, you were very tied in with your parents, and even your identity is tied in there. And then as you become a young adult, you're a young adult at 30, then you become your own person. And in doing that, you move away from your parents. You know what? A lot of times that's hard for, quote unquote, the kid, the young adult. And it's also really hard for the parents. So, when you understand what you're doing, which is actually the healthiest thing you can possibly do, and it doesn't always mean that you have to move or things like that, but because you're becoming a young, responsible adult on your own, sometimes that's even hard for a mom because they want to enable dependence, where you're still dependent on them.
Especially if they need to be needed.
Sure,
right?
Exactly.
In order to feel loved.
Exactly. So, you're doing the right thing, and even asking the questions that you ask are the right questions to ask. And when you get it all figured out, then please write a book on it, because we'll make it a bestseller here at New Life. Because
for sure,
there's tons of.
But no pressure.
No pressure on you. And if you could have it by next Sunday, that would be good. But honestly,
we'll be really disappointed, Jeremy, if you don't come through.
Yeah, I mean, you're really healthy.
Totally kidding.
We're seeing we hear the unhealthy stuff, and a lot of times we hear it from, frankly, the moms and the dads. So coming from you, I'm really glad that you were able to call us today and give us your question, but also your insight. I want you as my adopted daughter. You can come and move by us.
Would Take Your Life Back be a good resource for Jeremy? All right, Jeremy, thank you for calling in today. We're going to get you a copy of Take Your Life Back, which is also available in the newlife.com store. Now let's go to Barbara, who is in Belton, Missouri, watching us on YouTube. Hi there, Barbara. Thanks for calling us today at New Life Live.
Yes, hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah. What can we help you with today?
Sure. My question is, how do I support my husband just in a healthy way when he does not enjoy his job? It's not necessarily a job. It's just honestly work in general. He's a good man. He was single a long time. He took on me and my 3 daughters a little over a year ago. He loves us. He works so hard, and he is a great husband. Not perfect, but he's just a good man. And loves my daughters. We had our own daughter a few months ago, so if you hear her in the background, she's super sweet.
We did hear her.
But, we did hear her. I think she said Uncle Jim. I think that's what she said. I think I heard her say that.
She's smiling.
So now do you have 4 daughters?
Yes, we have 4, and he was single a long time. He loves the Lord, but he has always, and it's not just him, his brothers too, they've always struggled with jobs, like just work. Mm-hmm. It wasn't really modeled for them. And what he did with all the single years is work, and then he went dirt bike riding or, played multiple soccer teams, just stuff to keep him out of trouble, activity. But it kind of kept him going to have to work, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It was incentive.
So we get married. Yeah, yes. He had a lot of fun on the side, which is where the money went. But, he stayed out of trouble. So it was like healthy for him. And now, he settles down. He's a dad now and gets married. And he's done the right thing because he doesn't have all this money. We had to get a house and stuff. And I was working as a teacher, and now he wants me to be a homeschooling mom, so I'm fine with that. But he hates, I hate saying that word, but he hates his job. It's just jobs.
Yeah.
And it hurts me as his wife because he's such a good man. I love him so much. But the days he works, he comes home and he is just shut down, shut down. He's like, his tank is on empty.
Wow.
And I can be strong the first couple days because I get it and I understand. I don't maybe get it because I haven't been there, but I understand and I love him.
Mm-hmm.
Day 3, I feel so lonely.
Yeah.
Because it's literally he comes home and he's just done with everything.
Yeah. Now, really quick, we're going to break, Barbara, but a question for you.
Okay.
You said at the beginning he doesn't like his jobs. It sounded like you said he doesn't like work in general. So, I mean, are you talking about like stuff to do around the house? He doesn't help with that, or?
No, he doesn't mind that.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. We're going to go to break. We'll come back to Barbara and to everyone else on hold right now. Thank you so much for listening and watching New Life Live on this 4th of July. God bless you guys. We'll be right back.
We've been married 33 years. We attended the Intimacy and Marriage Workshop. Even though we've read books or attended a few other marriage weekends, this was certainly different and a lot more intensive than initially that we thought.
When you come to Intimacy and Marriage, you're going to be immersed into a 3-day process.
Was not really sure exactly what to expect, but the idea of learning to really understand intimacy was intriguing. We had been in the same patterns of struggle over and over again.
If you've thought, I don't think we can ever change, we're just in this rut and we can't get out, the Intimacy and Marriage Workshop can help you get out of the rut.
The Intimacy and Marriage Weekend is July 25th to the 27th in Washington, D.C. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50. 1-800-639-5433.
I would highly recommend it.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery. And one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
And back to bubbly Barbara in Bolton, Missouri. You've got such a great attitude, Barbara. Great hearing from you today. So where did we leave off with Barbara? What's our next question for her?
Well,
Did
you want to go, Jim? No, I'm wondering his attitude about work. Like, we're kind of wondering, because it seems like you're saying that he and his brothers all struggle with jobs and they didn't have good role models. I mean, there's a part of me that says we're all created to work at something, right? And so, and men, and the curse, so some of it is a curse, right? They were supposed to toil the earth. Yeah. I mean, and he's wanting you to stay home. So if you stay home, that means he has to work more.
Mm-hmm. He makes great money, so we can afford that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but he's completely depleted. So one would be, one is if you can't change your circumstances, you have to change how you look at your circumstances. You have to reframe it and have a new attitude. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if he needs a little bit of an attitude check towards work, in terms of, because now he may not be working for dirt bikes, but he's working for you and for your daughters, this family that he's created and this home, right? And so that has to be the incentive that keeps him going. Mm-hmm. At the same time...
And I totally agree.
Okay. And at the same time, sometimes people stay in a job because the money's really good, but it's not a good fit for who they are. And so that's another piece. Right? Jim, you were
I think so
talking
too.
about
I was
somebody.
giving an illustration at the break. Jill and I were talking because we know a lot of common people. We have a mutual friend who didn't like his job, came home like you're talking about.
And he made good money, right?
He made really good money.
Really good money.
But he loved bicycling. And his fun part, just like your husband liked dirt bikes, he loved, going on big, long bike rides. And so he kind of started fixing people's bikes in his garage, and he made a living. He didn't make as much money, and he thrived. And his wife goes, I'd much rather have him doing, this bike deal. I'm not saying that's your answer or his answer, but he could be in the wrong job, because there are jobs. Like, I love my job. I get up in the morning and go, I can't wait to do what I do. So I'm fortunate. I realize I'm fortunate. I realize everybody doesn't have that. But,
But there has to be something.
Yeah.
You go, I'm doing this because it serves a purpose.
Sure.
So I'm excited that I get to do this.
Yeah. So, here we are without your husband, talking about your husband without really, listening to him. But, it may be a time for him to go talk with somebody and try to get an assessment on his, I have a new baby. I have a new wife. I have 3 more new daughters. And, I chose this world, and I love it. And he sounds like, I'm making the check marks, and he sounds like a pretty great guy. But maybe he needs.
He's happy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
He's
maybe he
totally
needs to.
happy
Yeah, maybe he
with
needs to
where
talk
he's
through
at,
this. Yeah.
Except for job.
Sure. So maybe he needs to talk through this with someone from the outside who could ask really good questions and help him kind of learn to discern what is this. Even if it's, I've got 5 more years in me, and then we're going to do it this way, or make some plans. But that may be one of the best things. There are times in my life when I've been about ready to think about a transition where I need to just go sit and chat with somebody. And sometimes it's a counselor. Luckily for me, I have a lot of friends who are counselors, so I just go talk with. I tell them, I'll buy you lunch. Come, let's talk.
Come talk to me.
But the point being that he may need that, and I would encourage him. And you don't sound like the naggy type, but I would encourage him to go talk with somebody about this, because you don't want him miserable, because that's going to affect his relationship with you. That's going to affect his relationship with all 4 of the girls.
And you're saying it already is. If he shuts down and has nothing left to give at the end of the day.
He's just everything physically, emotionally, mentally, and I have told him, honey, I will support anything you want to do, because he's responsible. He's going to provide. He is wise with money.
Yeah. Right.
And I said, I trust you. What can I do?
Wow, that's great.
And he's like, there's nothing you can do. And the problem, too, is he's a loner. He doesn't trust anybody just from his own past. And so, and again, it runs in the family. Most of the siblings married women who are breadwinners, who make a lot of money, so the men they can just play, if that makes sense.
Right.
So
and he just didn't.
Right, but there's this attitude that was bred in the family that we deserve to play.
Yes.
And that play is really what we're meant to do, and not work, and kind of a resentment
150%
towards work.
Right.
And that's where I think he needs an attitude shift, because we were actually created more to work. Play is important too.
Right.
We need a balance. But we are created to work. We need to have a purpose. And then you just talked about him being a loner. So I don't know what kind of job he's in, but some men don't do well working for others. Sometimes they need to work for themselves. Yeah. But
well, and I came from a family of hard workers, and so it's just we come from 2 opposite spectrums. And why I called you guys is I've had what you guys have said. I've already told him. Like, I understand the whole thing. I can't make him reach out to a man.
Right.
I can't. I'm not his mom. I'm his wife, right? And he doesn't want a mom. He's had an overbearing mom. So I guess it's just prayer, but it's like, how do I keep the home the best I can. I have a meal for him when he gets home. I do everything, and it just hurts my heart to see a husband who's so worn thin.
And do you tell him that?
Home. Oh, yes.
And that you miss him, and that you are lonely?
We'll continue this conversation when we come back here on New Life Live. We're also going to talk to Elaine and everyone else that's on hold. Thank you so much for listening today. We will be right back on New Life Live. I'm Brian Perez with Doctors Jim Burns and Jill Hubbard.
I became aware that my husband had had an affair. He was viewing porn on the computer. I was totally unaware of anything like sex addiction. Through the workshop, I truly believe my soul has been restored. The workshop educated me about what sex addiction was. It also gave me courage. I learned how to stand up for myself. Without a doubt, it was the most significant thing that I did.
The Restore Intensive is coming to Washington, D.C. November 7th to the 9th. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Enter the code NLL for a discount.
That workshop is where I found the tools in the people to heal from this most heartbreaking thing of my life.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL. Club New Life changes lives.
You guys came along into my life in 2022. That was a really, really difficult year of my life.
You can help New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people by joining Club New Life today.
I began to really process a lot of things that I've needed to for a long time, and y'all were a very big part of that.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
I came out of it having never experienced anything like that, and y'all were there.
Join today and help continue the message of hope to a troubled world.
I knew I had to keep going, and I joined Club New Life, and y'all have been the resource that has now been a light for my wife and I.
Go to newlife.com/CNL, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places.
Keep doing what you do because it makes a difference.
newlife.com/CNL. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Hey, Barbara, just for calling in today, we're going to send you a copy of the book, You Are What You Think by Dave Stoop. We want you to give that book to your husband. We think both of you will benefit from that book, which is available for purchase at the newlife.com store. Thank you for calling in today. You know, it's the 4th of July, and here on our wall calendar at the New Life office, not only does it say it's Independence Day, but it's also the last day to get early bird pricing to get into this month's Every Man's Battle weekend workshop. Guys, it starts on July 18th, and I tell you, if you are struggling in this area of sexual integrity and think you're beyond hope because everything you've tried to stop watching porn or quit those casual hookups or looking for love from women other than your wife, you need to attend Every Man's Battle. Here's what one attendee said: "I want to thank this ministry for a life-changing event. I feel I can finally be free of an addiction of 60 years. Get all the information or register at newlife.com/EMB. And if you think, I can handle this porn thing, it's not an addiction, I can stop whenever I want, I wouldn't be surprised if the gentleman whose testimony I just read thought the same thing 60 years ago. So please sign up today for Every Man's Battle. It starts in 2 weeks in Dallas, Texas. We've got a discount if you sign up today on the Every Man's Battle page of our website, newlife.com/EMB.
Can I add one more thing for Barbara? Because one thing we forgot to say is I do think, Barbara, if you are involved in church at all, to maybe encourage your husband to get into a men's group, this lack of trust can also become an excuse for not connecting. And that's something that's important that I think he work on, and that men need other men. And it sounds like he's got his brothers, but they all kind of think the same. So some other men that think differently can add new perspective. And so that's one of the ways that you could also support him. But we think you're doing a good job.
Elaine in Lansing, Michigan, listening on Sirius XM Channel 131. Welcome to New Life Live. How can we help you today?
Hi, thank you. Yes, I have 2 adult children, a son that's 35 and a daughter that's 39. And last year, both of them went through, or started going through marital issues. My daughter filed for divorce, and my son is separated. And I've been carrying around this guilt and grief that I didn't raise them properly. They were raised in church, but they don't follow the Lord as of now. And I just feel like I could have done a better job parenting, maybe. And I just don't know how to get rid of this guilt and this grief that I carry.
Mm-hmm.
I pray about it a lot, and I just can't seem to get any relief.
Yeah. Well, Elaine, sure, you probably could have been a better parent.
We all could.
Just like the rest of us, right?
Yeah.
There are things that we all could have done in looking back. And there are things that happen in life that are out of our control. I think it is important as a parent to own your part. You know, like when I talked at the beginning of the show and my son kind of confronted me a bit, I had to own my part and go, you know, you're right. I'm being a little hard on you. I remember, you know, my mom was frustrated with me at your age too. And so to kind of own the things that we see that we wished we could have done differently, or that we see that we did wrong in their growing up, or even to ask them, what was it like to be my child? And be able to kind of hear their feedback. What was it like to be on the receiving end of me? And that's a gift that we can give our kids. But this guilt that you're heaping on you, part of it is you're disappointed in how they've turned out. Because, see, once they became an adult, they started making their own choices, and they had other influences besides you. You have a big part in raising them, but you're not the only factor. And so lots of kids, and Jim, you talked about this, where they, you know, turn against the values that they were raised in. These kids, you raise them in church, and they stopped going for whatever reason, and haven't continued in that. Well, when we do that, then we're just dealing with our own kind of power and might and making choices out of the flesh, right? And so then we're not always going to make the best choices. And so some of it, yes, you're disappointed that they have done this, and that what you tried to instill in them didn't quite take. Now, could you have done it differently? Sure. Again, there's lots of things, but this guilt is not helping you. And part of it is accepting the fact that they are separate from you, and that you didn't have control, and that they made choices you didn't like.
Elaine, was their father involved in their raising as well? Did you raise them together?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and he's still, we're still married. And, But he thinks that, you know, he thinks differently than I do. He says he just gives it to God every day and doesn't think about it, but I can't stop thinking about it, and it just drives me crazy.
Well, and your kids, at some point, you also have to grieve that they cannot be a reflection on your parenting. Or on you as a person, right? A little bit, but at some point, you know, they're 35 and 39.
Right.
So you have to look at the part of you that says, I needed them to turn out better so that I would feel good.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah. You know, sweet Elaine, if I was with you and we were sitting at Starbucks, I'd put my hands up by your cheek and I would just say, you're not defined by your adult kids' choices. And you know, that's easy for me to say, and I get it when Mom, you birthed these kids. So I get it, you know, that it's really, really hard, but you're not defined by their choices now. They're adults. And even what your husband is probably saying is good. Now, Jill said something very interesting, because I picked up on this too. They're not going to church. Well, I'm not saying that church is the magic wand for every good marriage, but there's an amazing amount of research that shows that if people will, for example, if they'll worship twice a month, that their marriage is better off. If they, pray together, their marriage is much better off. We talk about Dr. David Stoop. He used to challenge people to pray every day together, things like that. They've chosen not to go that way. I doubt if you said, you know what, I don't think you guys should be going to church anymore. So they've chosen another way. That actually complicates their relationships. That complicates their life, in my humble opinion. I mean, again, I'm big on people leaning into God to get help for their marriage. Kathy and I were at a wedding this week, and they interviewed us because at the dance floor, we were the people who had been married the longest. I'm at that age. Oh my gosh! And they said to Kathy, "What's your answer?" And I was going to say, "Yes, dear." Okay, I was going to be funny. Yeah. And she said, "It's God." And basically saying if it wasn't for God, we probably wouldn't be married. And I kind of agree with her there. So the point that I'm saying is all those are their choices. Those are not your choices, and you can't be defined by those. So, we've got to somehow accept the fact that, we're going to grieve. And no, they didn't turn out like we had hoped they would. But stay in the story, too, because I find sometimes when they go into turmoil, I mean, you just mentioned that in the last year, we've got one separated and one, going through a divorce. Sometimes on the back end of that, and I'm not suggesting that everybody go get separated and go divorce, but I am saying that sometimes on the back end of that, they come back to their roots that you did teach them. Even when the Bible says train up a child in the way that they would go, it doesn't talk about train up a child and then they're always going to go one way. Sometimes it means later in life they go, whoa, I have missed the boat, and I'm going to come back to the one who brought me eternal life or whatever. So stay on their story. Manage your own grief. You're really going through grief, so manage your grief with a small group of other women that you can talk to. Maybe a counselor, whatever it takes for you. But you're not defined by their choices. Please hear that.
Okay.
All right, Elaine, thank you for calling in today to New Life Live. We've got several resources on the newlife.com store. Doing Life with Your Adult Children is the one we're going to send you. It was written by Dr. Jim Burns, so even though he can't sit at Starbucks with you and hold your face in his hands like he said, we'll send you a copy of this book. It's the next best thing. Doing Life with Your Adult Children. Thank you for calling in today. We'll get to more calls in just a little bit. And if you're an investor, you probably check the stock market every day to see how your portfolio is doing. Well, when you give to New Life, you're investing in the lives and souls of hurting people. And you can watch or listen every day to see how your spiritual investment is doing. Every person who's been helped by New Life is a direct result of our supporters. We're so grateful for you, and so are the people who've received help. Because someone cared, a couple was able to find counseling that saved their marriage. An addict found sobriety through a life recovery group. A woman was able to find healing after a betrayal. These are just a few examples of the thousands of lives that have found hope, all because someone cared. On behalf of those who have been helped, thank you. And if you want to make a difference by giving, you can do so online at newlife.com, or you can call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or text NLM as in New Life Ministries to 28950. Thank you for whatever you can do. We'll be back with more of your calls here on New Life Live.
Do you need help for life's hard situations?
My husband recently said he wanted a divorce.
I'm confused on what I should do.
I have an eating disorder.
New Life Live answers your questions on relationships, grief, addiction, trauma, anxiety, and much more, all from a biblical perspective with our panel of professional counselors and psychologists.
I learn a lot from your program.
You help so many people.
I appreciate your ministry.
Whether you listen or watch, there are so many ways to connect with us to ask our panel of counselors a question. Call us Monday through Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific at 1-800-229-3000 to ask your question on New Life Live. Or go to newlife.com/radio for other ways to get your question answered.
I'm trying to find help.
I just want to know how to set boundaries.
If it's a sin, what am I supposed to do?
Need a therapist or a coach, a resource, or an intensive? Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. For over 35 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addiction, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
I found a counselor through New Life Ministries, and it's just been outstanding.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first steps toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door for a better tomorrow.
To get someone that's competent, that's good at what they do, it's been like day and night compared to what I've had before.
Call 1-800-639-5433. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
It'll be fun watching the fireworks tonight, but there's nothing fun about sparks flying in your family, whether it's your marital relationship or your kids or your parents. We've got hundreds of resources for you, not just on the newlife.com store, but we've got a video library, so much that can help you. And that I mentioned the sale that's going on. It's a summer closeout sale, and you can visit the newlife.com store to scoop up some great resources at incredible prices. When they're gone, they're gone, so get yours today at newlife.com. Let's talk to Lorraine in Peoria, Illinois, listening on WPEO.
Yeah.
Hi there, Lorraine. Thank you for calling in today.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well, thanks.
That's good.
So what's going on? How can we... Go ahead.
I'm calling because I am a victim, a survivor of domestic violence and forced prostitution, sex trafficking. And about 2 years ago, my abuser and trafficker tried to take my life, and I self-defended, and I ended up taking his, and I was charged with murder. And an organization from Chicago reached out to me, and they looked over my case and everything, and they said, "You're not a murderer, you're a survivor. You have a survivor crime." And they, together with some other organizations, raised my bond money, which was 10% of $1 million, and now I'm out, and I've been out 3 months. But the time I was in the jail, the Lord reached out to me, spoke to me, and delivered me from everything, that I was dealing with. All the hurt and pain that I had in my soul, anyway, I thought. But now that I'm out, I have to learn how to live normal life, because I just, I didn't have that. I didn't live normal life with him. And so I'm just kind of wondering, I'm sorry. I get a little...
This is a hard story. Lorraine, was this a husband? Were you married to this man? Okay.
No, he was a guy that he basically, brainwashed me and forced me into addiction. And I was really, really in a bad place before I met him, mentally, emotionally, a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety and things, and a lot of health issues. So I had low self-esteem about myself, and he used those things to manipulate me and pull me into this sex trafficking. And
so he was a predator.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And so it's really hard. I'm trying to make it. It's hard. I have to live in a hotel right now, and I'm on disability, which isn't much at all, so I'm finding it very hard to make ends meet and such. But I'm just wanting to know, how do I deal with the pain in my heart from, everything I went through with him, and just being charged with that.
Yeah.
That, murder. But I'm thankful that the Lord delivered me. I truly am thankful for that. And I'm thankful that he sent the people he did to let me know that I'm not a murderer. Yeah.
Exactly.
But how do I, that there's just some pain still there that
Of course, Lorraine, even when the Lord delivers us, it doesn't mean we don't have to still walk through the consequences of what has happened and the aftermath. And so that is part of your journey now, right, is to do continued healing. I think that getting involved, and you said you're on limited income, so I would recommend like 12-step groups or group therapy. 12-step groups are free. There are also survivors groups, victims groups, and there's also, in terms of getting some maybe individual therapy, there are victims. There is money for victims that you can apply for that can help with that. But I think you need to be with others and in a process where you are safe and can explore some of these feelings and have it validated and reinforced by others, and just have others love on you. And already, I mean, God has worked a miracle here. And here's the thing, if you read your Bible, because how many people went to jail, right, that were innocent or had done things, right? And how God use that time and he redeems it. And that's where God met you. He got you to a place where you were safe, right? And he met you there, and then he sent angels to free you.
Yes, he did.
Didn't
Amen.
he?
Praise the Lord.
I love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way of saying it. Lorraine, when I was in grad school, I worked at a prison. I worked with men, not with the women, but one of the things we used to say, and part of my job was not just counseling them, but getting them, once they were out, to get help. And the word I use is circle of support. And what you want to do, kind of what Jill was saying, but you want to make sure you have a circle of support. Sounds like you have a good, and a lot of times we need a circle of support. It sounds like you have great people, on your side, standing up for you. That's amazing, because that means you can go to them and trust them, and they're going to do everything they can to free you from your experience with this, the experience that you've been in. But also counseling, you can get counseling. You know what? With you being a survivor, and they know who to go to. If you don't, you're in Peoria. That's a good sized city. Lots of good people there who could help you. I would make sure that I would just immerse yourself in the church. When you're in the prison, what we found was that people would really grow because they had fellowship every single day. Day in and day out. So, there's a church nearby, if you're not involved in a church, that would be a place for you to find that church, and then get friends who understand you and love you. And you don't have to always be needy, Lorraine. You can just be Lorraine to them. And sometimes you can say, here's my story. And their minds are blown like any of our listeners' minds right now are blown. And, and when Jill said, read the Bible and pray, that's a really good thing to do,
well,
because
there's just so many examples.
It'll give you perspective. You're right. And so, this is a time of healing for you. And, sometimes healing comes instantaneously. You said you were delivered, and sometimes there are some delivery that takes place immediately. A lot of healing takes time. One of my quotes that I love is, good thing Easter is more than just a day, it's a season, because some healings take place and some resurrections take place. So you've got a lot of good things going for you. Make sure you have that circle of support. Build upon that circle of support.
And you keep adding the support based on what you need.
Right.
If you've got a leak in your roof, you add buckets. And as they fill up, you keep adding buckets. So sometimes we need to go to a group every day.
Yeah.
And that's like a bucket, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need to go 3 times a week.
Exactly. And, your conversation with us, we will get somebody who's had an experience like you. They can hardly even talk, because the pain is so deep. And I'm sure your pain is deep, but you've done a lot of work, because you were able to communicate that very well. So keep it up. God bless you. And
some of the work is also, Lorraine, the childhood stuff, the stuff that got you in a position where you were easily preyed upon.
Yeah.
And so I think there's pain from that as well. It should be looked at.
How you think determines the course of your life. You're not a murderer. You were defending yourself. And we're so glad that you called in today. There's a devotional by that name that we're going to send you. It's from the newlife.com store, written by Laura McDonald. How you think determines the course of your life. God bless you, Lorraine. All of our listeners are going to be praying for you as well during this time of your life. And we're just going to pray for continued healing for you. All right, we are out of time today on New Life Live. We will see you at church this Sunday, and we'll talk to you here on Monday. God bless. Happy 4th.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Please join us again on Monday for New Life Live.